It's time for The Plot. I'm Juliette Sarli. In today's episode of The Plot, from Dancing with the Stars champion to strategic rentvester, we'll walk through the journey of our next guest's strategy to unlocking financial freedom. Media personality Rob Palmer joins me now in the studio alongside his mentor, inSynergy's founder, Richard Sheppard. Great to have you both here, Rob
G'day,
and
Juliette.
Richard. So you're known to Australian audiences, Rob. Just talk us through how you decided to become a rentvester, because I understand you sold the family home.
Yeah, we did, and that was only recently. I've been working with Shep, my mate, for, up to 10 years now. Yeah. And initially, I was quite risk averse. I think a lot of people are. I had my job, I had my mortgage, and I just wanted to get through it. And in media, I guess you'd know, it's not the most secure industry in the world, and so you never really knew when you were going to face financial challenges. And speaking with Shep, we got together, and he said to me, "Mate, look, let's have a look at what your house is worth now."
And so you sold it off to rent somewhere else or to buy somewhere else?
Initially, I didn't want to rent. I thought, no, this is my dream. And I think a lot of Australians have that idea that your home is that treasure that you just don't want to lose. You want security. But the thing that I learnt, I guess, over years with inSynergy is that the real security is in taking that step and putting your money or your capital value into an investment situation where it's working and working and working constantly, even when you're asleep. You're not at work, but your money is still working. And I've realised that over 10 years. It's taken a while.
So, Richard, from your point of view and with inSynergy, tell us a little bit more about what rentvesting is, because as we were discussing earlier off air, Australians are obsessed with property and really having a mortgage.
Yeah, so rentvesting is the concept of rent what you want to live in and where, and then invest where we'll make a lot more money and how you'll make a lot more money. And so there's 15,000 suburbs roughly in Australia. So for where you want to live, you've got a 1 in 15,000 chance of it being the best performing suburb. So all markets have a really big shift in cycle. So when you can identify if the market you want to live in is going to be poor growth, rent it. When the yield is low, rent it and invest where is going to be high growth and is high yield. So that's just the growth and the yield difference in rentvesting. But then there's a strategic thing. When you can buy and sell properties more regularly, because they're investments as opposed to your home, you can make far more money. Normally, and it's the fastest way to get to your dream home is invest in a more affordable market to get in the market sooner, make a lot more capital growth and yield, rent while you're doing that, and eventually that will make far more money than you ever could make saving to get into your ideal market.
There are a lot of people, though, that are against rentvesting. What do you say to them?
Just learn. It's just making a more informed decision. It doesn't mean you have to. Like if you already have your home, awesome. And we'll often say, there'll be a lot of people that own their own home. It's not a mistake to own your home. You will just make more money always by rentvesting, or 99% of the time. There's a very rare circumstance where buying your home first or any time will make more money. It doesn't mean don't do it. It just means make an informed decision about when and how. Most of the time when we rentvest, it's with the goal of making so much money that you can buy your dream home with cash or a very small mortgage. Like no one can buy their dream home first property. Can you? You can't. But so what is the fastest and best way to get to your dream home, but in a very financially secure way, and then own it with low debt or no debt and still have an investment portfolio? That's the concept of rentvesting.
So Rob, going back to your point, how did you first of all find Richard, but how did you come to this decision to let go of the family home, which I imagine would have a lot of emotion tied to it?
Yeah, well, I built it. Yeah. So, it was a very personal decision. Richard and I met on the sidelines of kids rugby. We were both coaching down there at the Manly Roos rugby side, and we were just talking on the sideline one day, and I asked him what he did. He said, I do property investment strategising and I help people realise a retirement a lot earlier than they would otherwise think, just through investment. And I said, that sounds awesome. So we looked at our home and we looked at the value of it. We looked at the capital, the growth that we'd had over X amount of years and the equity that was there. And there was a lot of equity that we were not using. And yet here I was just paying off my mortgage and having enough to live. And I did not think that property investment was something that was for me. I just didn't quite understand how it was going to work, and I didn't want to take the risk. I didn't want to use the equity in my home and risk being exposed to a debt that I couldn't service. But then once I learnt from Richard about the art of property investment, I then saw that this was very possible, and not just possible, it was happening, and we were going to do it. So we bought our first property. It was a land and build in Newcastle, and many years back. And then we paid for that with $500,000 and then sold it for close to $1 million 5 years later. And I just thought, if we can do that with this property, and by then we'd bought another, every time I go into his office, he says, you need to buy another property. And you walk out shaking sometimes going, well, yeah, here we go. But it's exciting, and I love excitement. I love the thrill of doing something that's new and exciting and learning along the way. And I've learnt so much from these guys at inSynergy as I've grown in property investment. And then I guess the hurdle for me was saying, do I sell this house that we're living in and then go into renting? And that was, I guess, the next step for me once we'd done some investing over a series of years, that I thought, okay, if we really want to make the most of the equity in this home that might have grown 1 or 2% over 12 months compared to where we could put that money that was growing at 10 to 15% over the same time. And you look at the value of your home, either growing at 2 or at 15%, it just didn't seem to, I couldn't argue with it.
Yeah.
So we did it. And you know what it was? It was great for the marriage too. It was exciting because we moved into this great new home. Everyone was excited to be there. It was new. It sort of lit us up.
So change is as good as a holiday, as they say. You seem very happy and not stressed, so that's coming from some of this financial freedom, I would assume. So how do you prioritise now with this rent vesting strategy your life over, in terms of what you said earlier, just servicing a mortgage and really just trying to make ends meet?
Well, now I guess the work I do is work that I really enjoy, and I'm lucky to have that. But I think the more secure you feel in this rent vesting journey, the easier it is to feel relaxed about your work environment and chase things that you might actually love to do. So, 1 year's income to the next isn't as crucial to me now, because I know that there's an array of investments that are experiencing capital growth in their markets. And thanks to inSynergy and all their research they do, it's a scientific approach to investing. They put you into markets that are at the start or just getting into their growth cycle, and then and avoid places that might be having negative growth or zero growth, because there's so many property markets within Australia, and being in the right one at the right time is half the battle, and that's done by the guys at inSynergy.
So tell us a little bit more, Richard, about what you're doing, and I guess in terms of people watching, particularly if they're in expensive cities like Sydney and Melbourne and they think, when can I ever get on the property ladder? How can I ever get ahead?
Yeah. Well, it's time to come and learn. So we always start by teaching. Obviously, this is direct ownership, which is you own the property, you've got the mortgage, but you want to do that in the most informed way you can. It's a lot of money and it's a lot of debt, isn't it? Like often millions. So come and learn first so you can make the most informed decision about any situation or strategy you want to pursue. We'll tell you what the ideal way to invest is, or buy your home, just by learning and us building a strategy and a plan. And ultimately, you own it, your debt, it's important you understand it. Normally in 3 to 5 hours, we can teach someone not only how to get started, but how you invest for your whole life. And we can get most people to replace their income in 5 to 10 years from scratch.
And how are you doing this? I mean, what sort of data are you using? I gather it's a data-driven model.
Yeah. So we've got a Doctor of Property Economics in-house. So he's all day, every day, just geeking out in the most beautiful way possible on property markets and property data. So we get our data from Biz, Oxford Economics, from Core Logic, from a number of sources. It's all facts. We don't deal in myths or tales. It's all science, it's all strategy, it's all facts. So when you learn how to model these and plan these facts, it can completely change your life. And you don't need to wait until it happens. When you're confident that you can do this and this and this and have an extraordinary financial future, every day is better from that moment. And that's what really gets us. I'm getting emotional now. That's our why, it's getting the result, but knowing you can get it changes your life from that moment. And it's just learning. It's learning how to manage leverage safely. It's learning how to keep cash reserve buffers. It's learning how to buy in the high yield markets that are about to get high growth. And it's learning how to do that in a strategic, methodical way. It's an awesome thing.
Is it also allowing people to live the life they want to live if they can't afford to buy in the suburb they want to be in?
Absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it. So 100%. And it's to do that in the most optimum way you can do for your personal situation. And then you understand it. Rob didn't rentvest day one. It was after about 7 years. And so we don't want to get too fixated on rentvesting. It's awesome, but normally just come and learn. And some people come in, they've got their home. We don't say sell it and rentvest straight away. We say learn about investing, use all the equity and borrowing capacity you've got safely before rentvesting, because any property you could buy now as an investment is growing. And if you don't own it, it's growing for someone else. When you own it, it's growing for you. And then once you do all that, you're learning, then it helps you make a more informed decision when you've used all your borrowing capacity and you've still got big buffers. Then you can make an more informed decision about if you rentvest.
Yeah. Richard, what's your outlook on property prices more going forward, given we're expecting to have maybe 3 or 4 more rate cuts?
Yeah, it's looking good. So it's partly for the rate cuts. They're good. The best thing is we're the lowest vacancy rates have ever been in recorded history. That's far more important. And then we've still got close to the highest migration we've ever had in recorded history. And we need a lot more of it to fill all the skill shortages, especially in the building industry. So we're going to continue to have below 1% vacancy rates in almost every capital, or about average that. High migration, reducing interest rates. So everywhere is going to grow okay to excellent. Some will grow at 15 to 20% per annum. Some will grow at 3 to 5. And the ones that are going to boom have high rent returns. It's just that's how the cycle works. So we teach that. So, and they're more affordable. So everywhere will go okay to good. Fascinating thing is though, where we met in Manly, it's gone backwards 15.5% in the last 12 months.
Wow.
Manly, awesome suburb. We love it. I work there. I spend most of my time there. I live just up the road. I don't own there, all right? And neither does Rob anymore. Where we've invested has grown by 8 to 15% in the same time. Positive growth versus negative growth in an awesome suburb like Manly. I love it.
Yeah.
But all markets have a cycle. And when you learn that if they all have a cycle, everything you can say about that market always becomes irrelevant. Manly's a beautiful suburb. I'd love to live there. I love to spend time there, but I don't need to own there. Right? So if you can say something always about a market, it's irrelevant information. You want to learn what the things are going to cause change and determine whether it's at the bottom of the cycle, middle or top. Right? So they're the things you focus on. Then you can see the trees through the forest.
And speaking of the trees through the forest, Rob, what's next for you? I mean, we know you from Better Homes and Gardens, Dancing with the Stars. As you said, the media can be a fickle industry, but you're feeling like you're quite confident about your retirement, I guess, and your financial future now.
The financial future is gradually looking after itself. Thanks to Rich and the guys at inSynergy, they've put my wife and I and our family in a position where we feel secure, and I don't feel fearful for the fact that a contract might be not renewed, or I might not have a project to go into in the next 12 months. As it is, I've got other stuff cooking away. I'm working with Channel 9 on a new project called Top Knots, which will be on air in October this year. So that's very exciting. It's the most fun job I've ever had. But I feel like getting there has come through feeling a little bit more financial freedom because I haven't been panicked and I haven't been forced into something that I would not have otherwise done had I been worried about a mortgage or if I had been worried about paying back the bank. Richard taught me about this beautiful thing called the buffer, and the buffer account I've always tried to keep at a healthy, sustainable level. Sometimes he calls me super buffer man because I don't like it to get too small. Yeah. And I focus on my family and enjoying life now so much more than I had before because the property portfolio is growing the way it has been forecast to grow. Not every investment makes you 15% a year. It's impossible to think that it would. But when you follow the formula and trust in the system, it's very scientific and it works out. And it has worked out for the last 7 to 10 years over a series of different properties. We're in a great place and I feel really happy about it.
Fabulous. Rob and Richard, thank you so much for your time on AusBiz.
Thanks for having us.